I've always had a love-hate relationship with Deadpool. I've never been a fan of people who are fans of Deadpool, if that makes sense. What's up, nerds? Welcome back to some Nerd Alert. Me and
Jimmy.
I'm still getting a little rust out of those intros. It's been a minute. We are discussing Phase 5. We were talking about Phase 4 of the MCU, and I guess the internet's overall disappointment with it versus our thoughts, which were mainly positive. But now we're jumping into Phase 5, which we have started with. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania.
Which started, I think that one was ripped apart when it came out.
Once again, I'm here to talk about how much I love Jack Kirby. That's like my secret agenda. And that movie it had so much Kirby influence. And it's like, that's the thing I'm fighting for, is that everyone is always like, Stan Lee, Stan the man, Stan. And although he is not important, Jack Kirby is just as fucking important, and he's being used so often in the TV shows, the movies, Spider-Verse, or the Spider-Man, the Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse. They use Kirby Crackle in that. So not to get off on that, but Ant-Man and Quantumania.
You make a good point. Stan was a great self-promoter and a great promoter of Marvel. Jack Kirby created a lot of these things and just stayed in the background.
100%.
And I think now he's finally getting his due. I mean, I know his son has fought for him and all this.
And there's a plaque at the Avengers campus that says, dedicated to Stan Lee, and that should say Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko just as much. But that movie specifically had so many little nods. I mean, you had Kang, who he helped created, and they kind of set him as the villain. We're going to see him in Loki. They really show a lot of that going on at the end of Quantumania. But I enjoyed that movie. I thought it was a good little setup. Yes, it was CGI, but I still enjoyed it.
And it was introduced in Phase 4 with Loki.
Yeah.
The first version of the TV series, where I am not terribly familiar with Kang as far as the comic book iteration. So to me, that was like, oh, okay, cool. Something that's introduced that I don't know about. And then when he was in Quantumania, I'm like, interesting. I love especially the tag at the end with all the variants. And it was like, oh my goodness, what is going on?
And I mean, that really explores what can happen. I mean, the cool thing is, another thing with Marvel is when somebody notable can't be in a role anymore due to personal things or death or whatever, I'm really here just for the recasting. I don't need you to go away with that character forever. Whatever's going on in Jonathan Major's personal life, that's yet to be determined. Anthony Mackie said in an interview, like, look, dude, innocent until proven guilty. That's what our court system's set up for.
And there's been a lot of evidence coming out that the facts that were first reported aren't necessarily true.
Like, whatever that is, whatever the internet decides to hold court with that, because that's going to be the next thing. I'm hoping that if for some reason he can't continue with that role for whatever the outcome is, that they just recast. It seems easy enough to do. I'm sure there's a long list of actors to do that, especially because we have the next Avengers movie called The Kang Dynasty. That really feels like that's what we're building to, especially with Loki. It would seem odd that they just get rid of that character entirely. But with the start of, we're with his real big introduction, and then Guardians 3, which was the most emotional Marvel movie to date, I think we're off to a solid start.
I have always liked Rocket, but I never thought I would literally cry over an animated CG trash panda.
100%.
Oh my
100%.
God.
Like,
James Gunn got me. He did it.
I'm telling you, I can remember working at Maximum Comics, seeing that was slated for a movie and being like, there's no way it's going to catch on. I just don't see audiences getting behind it. And sure as shit, from the first one, they were like, Groot and a talking raccoon, count me in, dude. Like, this is highbrow stuff.
I think we were still Nerd Locker at the time, and we were making fun of Vin Diesel's Groot. Like, oh, he says one word the whole time. How lame. He's getting all this money. And now I'm like, dude, he was brilliant as Groot.
I mean, like, I will always kind of shit on Vin Diesel because it's Vin Diesel. But, I mean...
Family, man. Family.
Well, that's what Groot says every line, actually, if you look up. He's just talking about how everybody's family. Which, I don't know when they said when you could actually understand Groot at the end of the movie. That was James Gunn's way of saying you've been around now long enough that you understand it.
That made me,
and that makes you family.
That made me
You're
so
family
mad
now.
when the internet was like, "Oh, they went against character," and I'm like, "Turn it on its head." No, we are now understanding Groot's language.
100%.
It's brilliant.
You've been there long enough.
That's where I get so frustrated with fanboys.
Right. Either way, regardless of what they have to say, I thought that was a great movie as well. Next, we have the Marvels, which is I'm just as excited.
The trailer with Beastie Boys and
Yeah.
Interdimensional. Oh my lord!
Or Intergalactic.
Intergalactic. I'm sorry. I am so excited for this. I know it's silly because I know Miss Marvel was not made for me. I get it. I'm
talked about
not
that.
in the demographic.
But doesn't mean I'm not enjoying it.
I love how they introduced me to a new culture.
Yeah.
They introduced a new character to me and a new way, because that's what we talked about too, that we're not going the Inhumans route. I'm excited to see how this is going to work between Rambo, Captain Marvel, and now Miss Marvel.
And I mean, with such an emphasis on the multiverse now in the MCU, like the fact that their powers are interchanging them at different points of space makes you think that this is going to play into the bigger picture as well, which is what, when you go back to phase 1, phase 2, is really what we're building towards. And I think it's been cool that phase 4 introduced us to a lot of new people.
Yeah.
But I feel like phase 5, we're back on track to building that bigger overall story versus just individual pieces that are now going to play a bigger part. Deadpool 3 is also slated on this.
I just read they're half done filming, which I'm not exactly sure how that's possible, but okay.
I've always had a love-hate relationship with Deadpool. I've never been a fan of people who are fans of Deadpool, if that makes sense. No. Who are just fans of Deadpool out, like they don't read the comics, but boy, is Deadpool cool. Like,
I've told you the story, right?
Shit drives me nuts.
So I still have a Hotmail. Yes, I do. And it's Deadpool _94. And when I came out with that, everybody's like, "Oh my God, you must love Dirty Harry." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Because there was a movie, Dirty Harry, the Deadpool. And I'm like, "No, I like this comic book character."
Comic book character.
Finally, I was vindicated. Finally.
I typically say he's Lemons, X-Force is Lemonade. You need more people to flesh that out. But with this, it seems like it might be just the perfect storm of exactly what you need for a movie. Yeah. You're going to give the internet fanboys exactly what they want while kind of refocusing the X-Men into the MCU and giving us a send-off that everyone can finally be happy with and shut the hell up about.
You might not like Ryan Reynolds. I don't know why you wouldn't like him, but you might not.
I love Ryan Reynolds.
But I feel like he really has his finger on the pulse of what fans want. I mean, you go back to Wolverine Origins and you have that Deadpool, also Ryan Reynolds, and he knew that sucked, but he had no control over it.
Yeah.
Finally, we get the Deadpool we all wanted, and we get it basically because he released footage that wasn't supposed to be released.
He's responsible for the live action version of this and everything 100%. We're getting.
And I feel like his vision is going to do exactly what we want. Sort of, we talked about this Days of Future Past, what the Flash could have done, in that Fox was bought out by Disney, and now it's in the universe with Marvel. How are we going to get these to work out? And Deadpool is just insane. Anything is possible.
But right back to the thing we're talking about with Kang and different universes in the multiverse. This is more directly than even you're getting with Scarlet Witch, WandaVision, or you're getting with Loki. You're getting established characters technically, like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, and we're now building this out to this big giant Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty.
One of the funny topics I've read recently online was we have already established the time travel method in the Marvel Universe.
Yes.
And literally Iron Man has made fun of the Back to the Future style of time travel.
Yeah.
Yet Deadpool is predicated on the Back to the Future style
100%.
As he goes back in time and is 100%. Fixing things and killing things. And so I love this idea that they're just going to try and jam it together, and how's it going to work?
They're almost letting him go through and make a mess of things because that's going to be the only way to clean all this up.
And I feel like Illustrated, I think that's going to be like, oh, I'm going to go into the pages of the script and literally
100%. I mean, or we're going to get, a different version of Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, exactly.
And that can be used as good because those X-Men movies need to be murdered and buried and never brought up again. So
So,
I'm really hoping that that's what that leads to. But on the TV side of things, Secret Invasion was the first big one, which also introduced a different element to the rest
which
of the world.
I know you weren't the biggest fan of, because I know
Biggest fan of the finale. I
you-
enjoyed it, but it just felt rushed.
But again, that's another comic series that I did not get into. I was mainly an X-Men dude, so that's the series I know and I love. So when something new is introduced to me, I'm like, cool. I have no preconceived notions of what it would be.
I mean, I think it's a cool thing they're adding to the world as
Yeah.
well, because now they're gonna have people like Skrulls exist.
Yeah.
They could be anybody. It's established that some important people already have been, but that's going to play into all this as well.
And I know I saw what I saw, but I really hope Ben Mendelsohn is not really dead. I love him as an
you
actor.
never know.
I really love him as an actor.
Maybe some other Skrulls just like I really like the way that guy.
Exactly. I still
I
was like
want
that
to.
idea.
I want to look like him. and
I would
that's
love
who
that.
I'm gonna be.
I would love that.
But we still have Daredevil to come.
And all these are tentative based on obviously the actors and writer strike on what they can get out in a timely manner.
Very true.
Daredevil has always been one of my favorite characters. I love Lawyer by Day, Vigilante by Night. I just think that's phenomenal. I love what Netflix did with that series.
It was such
so
a good
beautiful
series.
the way they brought in Punisher.
And I love that we're building
Beautiful.
off of that. We're not just
We didn't throw
throwing
it away. Exactly.
Like,
it's still there. And I love how in She-Hulk he was reintroduced and it wasn't gritty at all. It was hilarious.
but like that,
Walk of Shame.
heroes can be both these things, and they
Exactly.
most of the time are. Like comic books can be goofy, and they have their moments.
Well,
Like,
and he wasn't in Hell's Kitchen, so he's not as
yeah,
worried
who cares?
anymore.
Well, I'm being honest, those vacation Daredevil.
Exactly, when he went to California. Nice.
Exactly. But so far, I'm into everything they put out. I'm excited to see what else they have going. I have nothing negative to say. Do you have any critiques, anything like that?
I would say that it's what we've talked about with Star Wars. Is what we talk about James Bond. We talk about this all the time. They're going to put out a lot of content. You might not like it. Fine. Don't rewatch it. Doesn't matter. It'll build into the mythos, and you might need to know. But don't watch it. Let it go. Move on to the next. I'm just thrilled that we're at this point in 2023 where we're getting all this nerddom, and it's mainstream.
That's what I'm
And I
saying.
love we get to see it.
That's mainly what I'm here for.
I love it.